Airport. We have our correspondent Nandita Dagar, who is currently at the Palam Airport for the latest on what's happening there. Nandita, what is the latest? We see the plane has arrived and the mortal remains of General Rawat are here now.
Yes, Samriddhi, a very solemn occasion as the C-130J Hercules aircraft of the Indian Air Force has arrived carrying the mortal remains of the 13 who were on board that ill-fated Mi-17 V5 helicopter that crashed in the Nilgiri district in Tamil Nadu yesterday in Kunnur. And this, of course, contains the mortal remains of the Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat, his wife, and Brigadier HS Litter, LL Litter. Now, these are the only three bodies whose identity has been ascertained. The rest of the bodies' identity is yet to be ascertained, and the army sources tell us that with all due respect to sensitivities of family members and procedures and protocols, the armies would be kept in the mortuary of the RNR hospital, and after the identity is ascertained with the help of DNA tests or any other tests, only then with the correct will they be handed over to the families. We are expecting the Prime Minister to arrive here within half an hour or 50 minutes. The Defence Minister, the Raksha Mantri, the Minister of State for Defence, the Chief of the Army Chief General Narwane, the Commander of the Palam Air Base, the Area Commander of Delhi, the Western Air Commander of Air Force. So we are expecting a host of dignitaries. These are all military dignitaries. Apart from the of these people who have been killed in the line of duty, we are expecting, pardon my throat, because it's a little sore. All these people are expected. Right now, we are seeing the process of the embarkment of these mortal remains. They will be laid out here for the dignitaries to lay wreaths on them and pay homage to them. Samriddhi.
That's right. And Nandita, what is the schedule for tomorrow? The formal cremation with all the military honors.
Yes, Samriddhi. The schedule for tomorrow is that the bodies of General Bipin Rawat and his wife, Mrs. Madhulika Rawat, will be placed in state at his residence, which is at Kamraj Marg, which is his official residence. From there, at around 2 p.m., it will leave for the Barar Square cantonment, Barar Square crematorium in Delhi cantonment, where he will be given a funeral with full military honors, deserving of a Chief of Defence Staff. Also, we will see several host of civilians also, and his body will be laid to stay, laid in state. The civilians will be allowed to visit his body and pay their respect, and later on it will be open for them. The time is scheduled for military leadership to pay their homage. Samriddhi.
Right, Nandita. Also, do you have any information on the sole survivor who has been?
Yes. As of now, Samriddhi, officially we are told that the sole survivor, Group Captain Varun Singh, he is in the command hospital, the army hospital in Bengaluru, and he is critical but stable and has been shifted. Around 4 p.m. he landed in Bengaluru. He has been shifted from the Wellington Army Hospital to the command hospital in Bengaluru. He has about 80% burn injury, so we can assume that he is certainly critical, but all critical care, palliative care, or all trauma treatment is being given to him. Smriti.
Right, and like you just said, are we expecting the Prime Minister and President to be there? We were told that
We are
they can
expecting
pay
the Prime
tributes.
Minister to be here, certainly, Samriddhi, as I said in my first answer. Within 40 minutes or so, we are expecting the arrival of the Prime Minister. He, of course, was very close to the Chief of Defence Staff, having worked with him very closely when the surgical strikes of 2016 across the line of control in POK were launched, and of course after that, when he was the army chief, the whole security was designed, and he was is one of the inner circle who worked in close confidentiality when the Balakot airstrikes were planned in 2019. Sorry, I have a bad throat. In 2019, pardon me for the bad throat I have. Also, when he was made the CDS from 2020 January onwards, he was engaged in theaterization or jointmanship. This was one of the key tasks that the Prime Minister had handed him also. And of course, the pandemic. During the pandemic, coordination between the three services during Operation Samudra Setu and Operation Pran, Jeevan Vayu, where liquid oxygen was transported from several parts of the world to India, and vaccines were delivered by Vaccine Maitri initiative. So he was one of the coordinating agencies, and he was very close to the Prime Minister, worked very closely with him. The National Security Advisor, Mr. Doval, he was closely associated. He held briefings. He met them on a regular basis. So we are expecting the Prime Minister within 40 or 45 minutes here at the Palam Air Base at the terminal, where all these 13 mortal remains have arrived in a C-17 Hercules aircraft. Samriddhi?
That's right, and now we can see that the mortal remains are arriving, and what else is happening? Are there family members of...
not as yet, Samriddhi. We only see the family members probably will be arriving at the last moment. Right now, the process of bringing the coffins is underway, and after that, we will see the family members probably being ushered in. They also, it is fitting because they want a moment of privacy at this moment, when it is a very, very grim and a very tragic occasion for them. They are grief-struck. So right now we do not see any family members. Right now, only army officials, Navy and Air Force officials are crowding. That we see wreaths of which are to be placed by the dignitaries here. They are also kept here. We see a guard of honor, a tri-service guard of honor to pay homage.
Right.
Yes, and as we speak now, we now see the family members have arrived here, and we see that the family members have arrived at this terminal, and this is a hangar which has been converted into a makeshift place for because it is secure here. Yes, Samriddhi.
Right, and could you also once again take us through what is going to be the schedule tomorrow for everyone who wants to pay a tribute? What is the schedule for tomorrow? The cremation.
Yes, Samriddhi, as I said, the schedule tomorrow is that from 11 a.m. to from 9 a.m. tomorrow, General Bipin Rawat's mortal remains will be laid in state at his official residence, which is at Kamraj Road, Kamraj Marg, and from there at 2 p.m. they will leave for his final journey towards the Barar Square Crematorium, where he will be given a funeral with full military honors. Yes, Samriddhi.
Right, Nandita, just stay with us. We also have Arun Sharma, our correspondent, on the other line, and let's try and get some updates from him. Arun, the mortal remains have now arrived at the Palam airport, and we can see the coffins being brought out of the plane. Are you with us, Arun? Arun?
Yes, indeed, very emotional moment. We know this fact that the mortal remains of these brave hearts have reached Palam airport in Delhi, and indeed, no words are not enough to express the feelings of every Indian today. the 130 crore Indians today mourn the death of these martyrs, and specifically General Bipin Rawat, because he had a great experience as far as the defense is concerned. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi decided this post of Chief of Defence Staff. It was General Bipin Rawat, the most trusted army personnel primarily for this post of Chief of Defence Staff. The idea behind of this post of the Chief of Defence Staff was to integrate, requirements of the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and what better, personality could it be other than General Bipin Rawat, one of the most decorated personnel primarily, Param Vishisht Seva Medal, Uttam Yudh Seva Medal, Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, Vishisht Seva Medal, Yudh Seva Medal, and Sena Medal. So I recall some of the lines, in Hindi primarily of great poets. मुझे तोड़ लेना बनमाली, उस पथ पर तुम देना फेंक, मातृभूमि पर शीश चढ़ाने जिस पथ जाए वीर अनेक. So primarily, General Bipin Rawat contributed a lot to bring in reforms as far as the army is concerned, as far as the defense line is concerned. And if you recall, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, look at that emotional speech also by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He clearly mentioned this point. A true patriot greatly contributed to modernizing our armed forces. So that's the emphasis was. Greatly contributed to modernizing our armed forces and security apparatus. His insights and perspectives on strategic matters were exceptional. Even yesterday when the Cabinet Committee on Security met, at that time also, we know this fact that the Cabinet Committee on Security met yesterday, and even Prime Minister Narendra Modi, his body language also clearly spoken a lot of things that yes, he was absolutely, look at his passing away has saddened me deeply. So it was really visible as well yesterday. Now, the remains of General Bipin Rawat, and of course the army personnel primarily lost their life in this chopper crash. They have reached Delhi now, and yes, Bipin Rawat, his contribution to the Indian Army primarily and to the defense of our country, whatever he has done for the army, for defense primarily, will not be forgotten. And yes, today 130 crore Indians are mourning, of course, the death of General Bipin Rawat. And look at it this way, even the neighboring countries, internationally, or various corners of the world primarily, the condolences messages are pouring in primarily of General Bipin Rawat's demise primarily. And, even internationally to the defense community's contribution was great because as far as United Nations is concerned, look at it this way that, he was also assigned to command an infantry division along the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir and was the corps commander in the Northeast region. So one of the most challenging places in India, yes, he has worked there, he served there on the ground level. When we talk about his experience, it was a great experience, as far as the army modernizing our defense sector is concerned. So in that context, yes, of course, but his contribution is really noteworthy. And the officer also commanded a multinational brigade. And we know this fact that in mission in Democratic Republic of Congo as well. And, we know this fact that Prime Minister Narendra Modi had this vision of integrating the demands of the army, the navy,
Arun,
the air force.
there seems to be some problem with your audio. We'll come back to you in just a bit. And for our audiences, as you may be able to see, the mortal remains, the coffins are now being taken out of the aircraft and are being placed. And we can also see some family members who are there to pay their tributes. And a Shraddhanjali ceremony is scheduled from 8:30 p.m. onwards. The Indian Army has said the mortal remains of the late CDS General Bipin Rawat and 12 others have now been brought to Delhi's Palam Airport. We once again have Nandita on the line. Nandita Dagar, our correspondent, once again joining us on another phone line.
Samriddhi?
Nandita, what is the latest
Yes,
now?
yes, Samriddhi, we see the Army Chief, General Manoj Narwane. We see the Navy Chief, Admiral R. Hari Kumar. He's recently become the Navy Chief on 30th November. They are here. They are consoling the family members of the passengers and the crew of that Mi-17 V5 helicopter that crashed. They are obviously, the family members are disconsolate and they are devastated. They have lost a loved one, but we as a nation have lost very fine soldiers, very fine airmen in these people. The last person the hope rests, hope actually persists in Group Captain Varun Singh surviving. He has reached the military hospital in Bangalore. He has been shifted there from the Wellington Military Hospital. You were asking me earlier, Samriddhi, about the plans for tomorrow about the cremation. As I told you, Samriddhi, that the Chief of Defence Staff, his wife, Mrs. Madhulika Rawat, and Brigadier Leader, these are the only three people whose remains have been identified positively with the help of DNA tests and other means. The others have not been identified, and the Army assures us, sources tell us, that they will be kept in the Army mortuary, and only after they have been positively, the identity has been ascertained, will they be handed over to the family members. Also, Samriddhi, as for tomorrow, the program is broadly as follows. From 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., General Bipin Rawat's body will lie in state at his residence at 3 Kamraj Marg for civilians to pay their respects and homage to him. And from 12:30 p.m. to 1:30 p.m., it will be open for the military dignitaries and the military personnel to pay their respects, lay wreaths, and say their last goodbyes to him. At 2 p.m., around 2 p.m., we are told that his final journey, the vehicle carrying his last remains will be starting from his house and will be starting from his house at 2 p.m., where he will be taken to the Barar Square crematorium in Delhi cantonment, where he will be given a funeral with full military honors. Right now, Samriddhi, I am at the Palam air technical area at the hangar there, where we just witnessed these visuals of which DD News and DD India are bringing live to you. The C-130J Hercules aircraft has arrived about 20 minutes or so back, and they're carrying these 13 coffins, and they are very, very heavy coffins for the C-130, let me tell you, because they are people who've been lost. They were in the prime of their life. They were absolutely fit and healthy. General Bipin Rawat himself was raring, including all the staff, and the anecdotes that we have heard from the family members of these people. So, sorry, I have a bad throat. Pardon me. Then we saw these coffins arrive. They have been laid on the huge tables, these wooden tables in coffins draped in the Indian tricolor. We are expecting the Prime Minister, the Defence Minister. We are expecting within 40 minutes, Prime Minister Mr. Modi, the Defence Minister Mr. Rajnath Singh, the Minister of State for Defence Mr. Ajay Bhatt, and of course the station commander here, who's Air Commodore Sanjeev Vashisht. He's already here. Of course, he's here to receive all these dignitaries. It is his airbase, and he has to see if all things proceed smoothly. Then there is the Western Army Commander, the Western Air Force Commander. Since these 13 people who have perished in that crash over Kunnur in Tamil Nadu, majority of them, 9 of them were from the Army. or at least barring Mrs. Madhulika Rawat, they were all from the army and the rest were from the Air Force. So there is a sizable presence of not just army and army, but also Air Force. And as far as army is concerned, a lot of people in the Dogra regiment had, you know, the 5th Battalion of the 11th Gorkha Rifles is into which General Bipin Rawat was commissioned into in 1978 when he passed out from the Indian Military Academy with the Sword of Honor, which is a distinguished honor. We see the relatives and the course mates of General Bipin Rawat and also HS Brigadier Leader and all the others, the Sipahis, all from their regiments, and they've all acquitted themselves very, very admirably. Because if I read out the biodata of some of these soldiers, let me tell you that they have served in the Lance Nayaks, the 2 Lance Nayaks, the 2 Nayaks, 1 Havaldar, 1 Lieutenant Colonel. They have served in deserts, they have served in Siachen, which is the glacier. They have served along the line of control, along the line of actual control. They in counter-insurgency, counter-terrorism operations. They have acquitted themselves very, very commendably. Samriti?
That's right. And Nandita, you were also telling us that the process for the positive identification of the remaining mortals is currently on. Where will the bodies where are they going to be kept after that? Like after this Shraddhanjali ceremony, where are they expected to be taken?
As I said, that the positive identification is on in the army hospital mortuary. These mortal remains will be kept and they will be identified by DNA tests and other means, dental records, etc., by which they will be identified, and only then will they be handed over to the kith and kin. Obviously, sensitivities have to be kept in mind. The severity of the crash is known to you, how severely people were burnt and charred actually in this horrendous tragedy. That is why many bodies could not have, apart from 3, any of the other bodies have not been identified. They will be kept in the mortuary.
That's right. And Nandita, we already can see the family members of these soldiers who have passed away, and they are currently now paying their tributes. And the Shraddhanjali ceremony, we are told, will start at 8:30. What more do you have on that? Nandita. We seem to have lost contact with Nandita Dagar, our correspondent who is at the Palam airport. And the mortal remains of late CDS General Bipin Rawat and 12 others have now reached the Palam airport. Families are currently paying their tributes to those who have passed away in this unfortunate incident, the chopper crash that took place yesterday. Late General Bipin Rawat, along with 12 others, the mortal remains are now currently at the Palam airport. We have personnel from the armed forces, family members who are now paying their tributes, and a Shraddhanjali ceremony is expected to start at 8:30. General Bipin Rawat, who passed away in a chopper crash yesterday, his mortal remains have now arrived at the Palam airport. General Rawat will be performed, his last rites will be performed with full military honours tomorrow, and other personnel, the other military personnel who have also died in this unfortunate crash, the last rites will be performed with appropriate military honour. The last rites of Brigadier L.S. Lidder, who died in the military chopper crash in Tamil Nadu yesterday, will be held around 9:15 p.m. at Delhi Cant tomorrow. One of the persons who's been identified, along with CDS General Bipin Rawat and his wife, and civilians can pay tributes to CDS General Bipin Rawat from 11 a.m. until 12:30 p.m. at his Kamraj Marg residence tomorrow. Military personnel can pay their respects between 12:30 to 13:30 p.m. Thereafter, the mortal remains will be taken in a gun carriage for funeral at the Delhi Cant Brass Square, as our correspondent Nandita Dagar has just now reported. We once again have Arun Sharma with us, our correspondent, joining us on the phone line from the Palam airport. Arun, what is the latest? The Shraddhanjali ceremony is it on? Yes.
Absolutely, Samriddhi. Now, the mortal remains have reached Delhi. We are telling our viewers, and yes, the Shraddhanjali ceremony, it starts shortly. Once the mortal remains are placed at the over the hangar at the Palam airport. Now, yes, the Chief of Defence Staff, the CDS Bipin Rawat primarily, his mortal remains have been brought to Delhi now, and
Arun, are you with us? Yeah, there seems to be some technical problem here. Arun is on the phone line with us and will shortly join us back for more details with more updates on what's happening at the Palam airport. As you can see, the mortal remains of Arun is back with us. Arun, you were telling us about this ceremony which is going to start shortly.
Well, absolutely. So, yes, that's right. The Shraddhanjali ceremony will be starting shortly, and the mortal remains of General Bipin Rawat, CDS, and of course the other people martyred primarily, they'll be they are being kept over here at the Palam Technical Airport. Now, let me also tell our viewers that how the 130 crore Indians today are mourning the death of these personnel, primarily the defense personnel primarily. When the mortal remains, started from Tamil Nadu. In Tamil Nadu primarily, the people, were there in long queues. They showered the flowers on the van primarily that was taking the mortal remains of these defense personnel primary. So this shows that yes, the entire country is in deep shock. This shows that yes, the loss is immense. The entire country is grieving the death of General Bipin Rawat. And we of course know this fact that when we talk about General Bipin Rawat, exemplary personnel, and of course the kind of experience that he had as far as serving in the defense, and of course also ensuring that how can integration of the demands of the defense of our country can be done. When India was committed, or primarily India committed that 2 mega defense corridors will be made, one in Tamil Nadu, one in Uttar Pradesh, how to bring in, or primarily, how can the requirement of the Indian defense personnel primarily that can be fulfilled, right from the rifles to mortars, how can India become Atmanirbhar Bharat primarily? We know this fact that recently only mega decisions were taken whereby Defense Acquisition Council started, acquiring the made in India weapons primarily. So that showcased that how now the approach changed, drastically as far as India's defense sector is concerned. And when we talk about General Bipin Rawat, he brought in mega reforms as far as the defense sector is concerned, as far as the fulfilling the requirement right from the ground zero, where the soldiers are deployed, where the army personnel are deployed. So this means a lot to a country like India, losing General Bipin Rawat. And we also know this fact that, General Bipin Rawat, he was actually instrumental in reducing the militancy in the northeastern region. Now, with one of the highlights of his career being in the 2015, the cross-border operation into Myanmar, in which the Indian Army successfully responded to an ambush by the NSC and militants. And we also know this fact that he was also part of the planning for the 2016 surgical strike. So the kind of free hand that was given to the army, the kind of, when we talk about the free hand that was given to the defense sector to give a befitting reply to the enemy, you can understand the top leadership actually matters. So be it Prime Minister Narendra Modi or be it the Chief of Defense Staff, General Bipin Rawat, the top leadership actually matters, when the army gets the free hand, and of course the requirement of the defense personnel in the defense sector primarily gets fulfilled. So yes, a lot of contribution as far as General Rawat is concerned, and General Bipin Rawat has had the vast experience in operations across a wide spectrum of conflict and terrain profiles primarily. And as I mentioned earlier to you, Samriddhi, that one of the most decorated, officer, General Bipin Rawat, primarily decorated with the Param Vishisht Seva Medal, and of course also the Uttam Yuddh Seva Medal, Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, Vishisht Seva Medal, Yuddh Seva Medal, and of course the Sena Medal as well. Now, indeed, a huge loss to defense sector of our country, a huge loss to India. 130 crore Indians actually mourning the death of Bipin Rawat, and of course also the other defense personnel who lost their life in this unfortunate incident that happened yesterday. And yes, it is very likely that Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also reach and pay his tributes to General Bipin Rawat as far as at the Palam airport primarily. And we also know this fact that yesterday also Prime Minister Narendra Modi tweeted, and he clearly mentioned this point, that it's a huge loss to the country. And of course, we also know this fact that when Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he tweeted and he clearly mentioned this point, that as India's first CDS, General Rawat worked on diverse aspects relating to our armed forces, including defense reforms. So you can understand from the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's point of view in his tweet primarily, the kind of reforms that we have seen in defense sector, specifically after 2018, 2019, when General Bipin Rawat took over as the Chief of Defense Staff. So this actually meant a lot for the top leadership and of course for a country like India as far as defense sector is concerned. So that's the reason why Prime Minister Narendra Modi yesterday in his tweet clearly mentioned his point, that General Rawat worked on diverse aspects relating to our armed forces, including the defense reforms. And of course, he brought a rich experience of serving in the army, and India will never forget his exceptional service. That's what Prime Minister Narendra Modi clearly emphasizing on the defense reforms that General Bipin Rawat undertook. Be it the defense reforms related to the defense corridors, be it making India Atmanirbhar Bharat by focusing on the fact that how can basic requirements of the army personnel, the defense personnel can be fulfilled. How can there be an integration and coordination as far as the forces are concerned? So these kind of his insights, his perspectives on strategic matters were really exceptional. And as Prime Minister Narendra Modi clearly also mentioned this point in his tweet yesterday, that his passing away has saddened him deeply, and of course entire country, 130 crore. If you look at it this way, Samriddhi, even the common people walking on the street, in the offices, they are actually discussing General Bipin Rawat. They know this fact that the way India did surgical strike, General Bipin Rawat was very much instrumental. He was there as far as formulating the strategy is concerned. Be it, ensuring that India combats the militancy, the extremism, and the kind of terrorist activities that we are witnessing. How can these be combated? Be it in Jammu and Kashmir, be it in the northeastern states, specifically after the abrogation of Article 370, we have seen that how terrorist activities have gone down. So how primarily the army has been strengthened. We have seen that how primarily the defense sector or the defense personnel have got the free hand, and we have seen that how the defense sector has been strengthened going forward. So it is because of the great vision of General Bipin Rawat under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. You know, we have seen the kind of reforms that the defense sector has witnessed under his leadership primarily. And of course, we know this fact that General Bipin Rawat contributed immensely as far as the defense sector is concerned. And his mortal remains have been brought to Delhi. And let me once again remind those visuals primarily whereby, you know, when the mortal remains of General Bipin Rawat, when they were flown to Delhi, at that time the people in Tamil Nadu, they queued up in large number. They primarily, gathered in large number, and they showered the flower petals on the mortal remains of these army personnel or General Bipin Rawat and other people who were martyred yesterday, other defense personnel primarily. So yes, indeed, a very emotional moment for a country like India. The Chief of Defense Staff, I mean, nobody could have imagined that this could have happened. But yes, even yesterday also, everybody was keeping their fingers crossed that the feeling was coming that something unfortunate might happen. But yes, everybody was keeping their fingers crossed, and they were focusing on the fact the entire nation was praying that General Bipin Rawat and the other defense personnel primarily who were on board the chopper Mi-17, they come out safely. But yes, this was an unfortunate day, and but today we know this fact. Yesterday we got this news that yes, General Bipin Rawat is no more, and this unfortunate news, we know this fact that sometimes words are not enough to put your emotions. Words are not enough to express the feeling. So these are those moments when, yes, words are not enough to express the feeling. The 130 crore Indian, be it the Prime Minister, be it the President, be it the Cabinet Ministers, or leaders of all the political parties, the international community primarily, the army commanders and the defense top leadership of other neighboring countries as well, be it Sri Lanka, be it Nepal, they all are, sending the condolences on the demise of General Bipin Rawat, and this shows that how his relations were with the army commanders and defense.
Right. What you've said is absolutely right. An irreparable loss for this country. Just give us a moment. We'll come back to you. We can see the National Security Advisor, Mr. Ajit Doval, has now arrived at the Palam Airport, where the mortal remains of CDS General Rawat and 12 others have now arrived and have been placed. The family members are there to prepare to pay their tributes. We have other personnel from the armed forces, majorly from the army, and we can also see armed forces personnel from the Air Force at the Palam Airport to pay their tributes to the 13 people who've passed away in this unfortunate chopper crash that took place yesterday in Tamil Nadu. The National Security Advisor Ajit Doval now talking to the families. He has arrived at the Palam Airport and now talking to the families of the departed soul. The mortal remains of CDS General Bipin Rawat and 12 others have now reached the Palam Airport. The Shraddhanjali ceremony will begin shortly. Family members and personnel from the tri-services at the venue to pay their tributes. Civilians can pay their tributes tomorrow and to CDS General Bipin Rawat from 11 a.m. until 12:30 p.m. at his Kamraj Marg residence. Going back to Arun. Arun, please continue. We were talking about the legacy that CDS General Rawat leaves behind, an irreparable loss for the nation, and we all mourn for this very, very irreparable loss. An unfortunate accident, chopper crash that has taken place yesterday, and like you said, nobody would have imagined something like this could happen.
Absolutely, and NSA has reached the Palam Technical, as you mentioned, and Yes, beyond these visuals, Samriddhi, also let's focus on the fact that before, General Bipin Rawat, before being a CDS or the Chief of Defence Staff, he was also a father, he was also a husband, and yes, my heart really goes out to the daughters of General Bipin Rawat. And as of now, you can see that the National Security Advisor, Ajit Doval, also interacting with the family members of General Bipin Rawat. So this shows that, the unfortunate event that took place yesterday, we all were expecting, the fingers were crossed, that we never wanted to hear this news. This was inside us. We knew that something wrong has happened. We knew that something unfortunate might happen. There was a sense of feeling because the chopper crashed. But yes, late in the evening, it was confirmed that CDS is no more. He passed away in this chopper crash primarily. And nobody could have imagined that this has happened. Everybody was, of the view that yes, some miracle will happen and he'll be safe and secure and he'll be fine. But destiny had some other plans, and CDS, the Chief of Defence Staff, is no more with us. And my heart really goes out for the daughters primarily of General Bipin Rawat. And we can see right now that the National Security Advisor also interacting with the family members of the CDS. And of course, earlier also we saw that how various cabinet ministers, political leaders, they have met the family members of General Bipin Rawat at their residence primarily. And we know this fact that even Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his tweet clearly mentioned this point, that he's really saddened by the demise of General Bipin Rawat. So these visuals speaks a lot. Visual speaks a lot, and we know this fact that one visual, is equal to 1,000 words. These emotional moments that the country is witnessing at this point, these very, very touchy moments primarily, the toughest thing to carry. I'm sure the commanders or primarily the pilots who were carrying these coffins, you can say, must be the heaviest coffins primarily, because it is said that to carry a coffin is the heaviest thing to carry. And carrying the coffins of these brave hearts that included the Chief of Defence Staff. People used to call him the Tiger or the Lion primarily. People used to call him the Braveheart primarily. People used to call CDS the most, approachable person, the most ever, approachable army personnel who has worked on the ground, and of course who has also taken the charge of the Chief of Defence Staff, or the prominent position in the defence primarily. And, these pictures speaks a lot, these coffins. As I also mentioned to you earlier, a Hindi poem, that I read of a great Hindi poet, which the concluding lines clearly mention this point. Mujhe tod lena वन माली, उस पथ पर तुम देना फेंक, मातृभूमि पर शीश चढ़ाने जिस पथ जाए वीर अनेक. And of course, these visuals, do speak about the emotional moment for a country like India. These visuals clearly mentions this point, that how India is mourning the death of these brave hearts, and how primarily not only in India, but the top leadership in army, or the top commanders, or the army chief, or the army generals of the neighboring countries of India, they are also, mourning the death of General Bipin Rawat. This was the chemistry of General Bipin Rawat with the other army chiefs of the different other countries as well. So right from the United Nations to the neighboring countries of India, their top commanders, their top army chief, or the army generals primarily, they have sent their condolences. Various countries, almost all the countries, you can say that the various countries primarily are sending their condolences on the demise of General Bipin Rawat and the other brave hearts. So yes, indeed, an emotional moment for a country like India, whereby, India was relying a lot in making the defense sector of India an Atmanirbhar, whereby India was relying on Chief of Defence Staff as far as making India self-reliant, or making a favorite destination for the investors. India was relying, as to defense reforms are concerned, under the leadership of CDS General Bipin Rawat. When Prime Minister Narendra Modi has to choose a position that was created for the first time, the Chief of Defense Staff. This was a long-pending idea. It was the idea to integrate the ideas, to integrate the requirements, to integrate the defense of our country that included Army, Navy, and the Air Force. So at that time, this was the person. General Bipin Rawat was the most trusted person. General Bipin Rawat was the most amicable person who has worked and, right from the ground zero, he has served in the northeastern part of our country, he has served in the Jammu and Kashmir area, he has served in the most toughest terrains of our country. So this responsibility was given to General Bipin Rawat as the Chief of Defense Staff. And, it is indeed an irreparable loss to the country like India, whereby India was focusing on the fact that under his leadership, how can India become Atmanirbhar? How can India's defense personnel primarily can get a free hand as far as making the defense sector of our country strong. So indeed, a great loss to a country like India. On Twitter, if you go to Twitter, the common people are tweeting about General Bipin Rawat. They are expressing their feeling, their emotions about General Bipin Rawat. I'm sure the common people must have not met him, but yes, one thing is for sure, the kind of deeds that the defense sector or the Army or the Navy or the Air Force has done in last many years under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and of course the Chief of Defense Staff, this sends out a loud message, a loud and clear message that this defense is very much different from this defense primarily. The approach is very much different this time around, and we have seen the kind of reforms that were taken under the leadership of Chief of Defense Staff.
Right.
And he had a great role to play in that, Samriddhi.
That's right. Arun, thank you, and we'll come back to you. We also have Abhishek Jha joining us on the phone line with the latest updates from the venue, the Palam Airport, where the mortal remains of late General Bipin Rawat and 12 others have been brought now, and the Shraddhanjali ceremony in fact will be beginning shortly. We can see the families are there and we've got personnel from the defense, from the tri-services, majorly from the Army and also from the Air Force, who are there to pay their tributes. Abhishek, you're on the phone line. Abhishek, what updates do you have?
So Shamiti, it's like clearly a very emotional moment for the nation and especially for the armed forces, where the general had served a fairly long tenure. He completed, in fact, since his NDA days, his colleagues remember that he was quite a brave and a cadet with a difference. In fact, because of his performance in his training days, he was awarded the highest rank during the passing out ceremony.
Right, Abhishek, we also see Mr. Rajnath Singh now, the Defence Minister who's arrived at the Palam Airport.
Okay, of course, we are expecting Defence Minister and few more Cabinet Ministers to arrive here who will be giving their Shraddhanjali to the departed General and others who have been killed in this ill-fated helicopter crash yesterday. It was quite a shocking accident, which is sort of...
That's right. Abhishek, we'll just come back to you. We'll just come back to you. We can see, as our audiences can see on their screen, the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has now arrived at the venue and is now talking to the families who've lost their loved ones in this unfortunate chopper crash that took place yesterday in Tamil Nadu, leaving the Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat, and his wife and 12 others dead. The Defence Minister is now talking to the families. Defence personnel are at the Palam Airport to pay their tributes. The Shraddhanjali ceremony will begin shortly, and the Defence Secretary is also expected to pay his tributes. The Chief of Air Staff, the Chief of the Navy Staff and the Chief of the Army Staff will also be paying their tributes to the fallen heroes. The National Security Advisor Ajit Doval has already reached the venue, and just a while back we saw him speaking to the families and offering his condolences. The Defence Secretary is also at the venue now at the Palam Airport, where the mortal remains of the 13 soldiers have been brought. Back to you, Abhishek.
Of course, Shramitji, his colleagues, his friends remember him as a leader of with conviction and determination. We know during his army tenure, when he became very senior, he commanded various critical operations which had bearing for India's national security for the days to come. We know that that event of northeastern around this northeastern border, where after an ambush attack on army personnel, General Rawat was monitoring that event, where army personnel went around the border and almost the entire NSCN group or the insurgent groups were wiped out, and we have seen a lot of decline in insurgent activities in northeastern regions. We have also seen how Uri attack was avenged by this surgical strike, which was sort of unprecedented, and India did acknowledge the fact that its personnel did cross the border, and those militants and their hideouts were ambushed and cleaned. Also, we have seen that General was assigned with a lot of policy-making initiatives. He was supposed to create an integrated theatre command, which he was working on. He was also working on the aspects of modernizing the armory for the Indian army, and also how to manufacture all those equipments and hardware in India itself. We know that there are countries which are very advanced in technologies, and he was working on to collaborate Indian private players with their foreign peers, so that a manufacturing ecosystem could be created across the country, and India's dependence on imported hardware for military would reduce over the coming years. Various ambitious projects were in the pipeline. He was supposed to serve at least for another 2 years in the post of Chief of Defence Staff. He was the first Chief of Defence Staff, and it's clearly a shocking incident where India has lost its first Chief of Defence Staff, and his vision, his dream for, and his ambition for a safer India or an integrated theatre command. The legacy will continue, however, but somebody who will be coming over to take the reins will have to surely fit in the shoes of General Rawat, who has left a rich legacy of
That's right.
National collaboration, and this is how people are going to remember his legacy.
That's right. And as you can see now on our screens, the bodies have been brought, the mortal remains have been brought to the Palam airport, and 3 people have been identified so far: CDS General Bipin Rawat, his wife Madhulika Rawat, and the third one is Brigadier L.S. Lidder. Unfortunately, the other mortal remains have not been identified so far. There isn't a positive identification on them, and they will remain at the Army Base Hospital until they can be identified. And the Shraddhanjali ceremony will begin shortly. We'll go back to Arun Sharma, our correspondent, who is still with us on the phone line. Arun. Hello, Arun, are you with us?
Yes, yes.
Right, Arun, and Group Captain Varun Singh, who is also a decorated officer, the Shaurya Chakra, he's the sole survivor of this unfortunate chopper crash, and we're told that he's been airlifted to the command hospital in Bangalore for treatment. What are the updates? He's stable. Yes.
Yes, that's right, Samriddhi. He has been flown to Bengaluru for further treatment, and we just hope that he recovers well. And yes, indeed, the fact is that he is a survivor as of now, as far as this unfortunate event is concerned. And we, as of now, when we talk about the Palam Technical Airport, the Defense Minister Rajnath Singh has also arrived, and we have seen that he interacted with the family members of General Bipin Rawat, and of course the others as well who lost their loved ones primarily, and the defense personnel who were martyred in this unfortunate incident and who lost their lives primarily in this unfortunate event. We are expecting, and of course, it is very much likely that Prime Minister Narendra Modi, will also reach and pay his tributes during this Shraddhanjali ceremony at the Palam airport. And we know this fact, as Abhishek was also mentioning about the point about introducing technology, in integrating all these, were the vision of CDS, the Chief of Defence Staff. He was instrumental in various policy initiatives, that the government took, and we have seen that the kind of leadership, the role that he played in, in bringing in reforms as far as defence sector is concerned. Now, as I was mentioning earlier, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi thought of this idea of integrating, or because he clearly mentioned this point that there is a need for integration as far as our defence forces are concerned, the Army, the Navy, and of course the Air Force. And the first person that he trusted on for this position was General Bipin Rawat. And we also know this fact that he was also part of the planning for the 2016 surgical strike that we witnessed, and how a befitting reply was given. And also for the fact that not only domestically but internationally also he has played an important role. Now, General Bipin Rawat was also the part of the United Nations peacekeeping force and has commanded a multinational brigade also. So this shows that how his contribution was there as far as international arena, as well as far as defense sector is concerned, as far as defense is concerned. Now, interestingly, the first CDS, primarily you can say that the first CDS primarily who have this responsibility of, number one, integrating, number two, introducing technology at the highest level, number three, to ensure that how can even the smallest of the demand from the sepoy or the army personnel who are being deployed on the tough terrains, they get fulfilled. Number four, how to make India Atmanirbhar as far as defense sector is concerned. This is the dream of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, to make defense a self-reliant sector, an Atmanirbhar Bharat sector, because Prime Minister Narendra Modi on various platforms has mentioned this point that India aims to become Atmanirbhar. And that's the reason recently we saw, even last year we saw, that how the kind of defense equipment, the rifles, the tanks primarily that India was importing earlier from various other countries, that was cut down. So India was capable of, manufacturing those defense equipments primarily that India was importing earlier. This is all because of the idea of Prime Minister Narendra Modi of creating a post that integrates a Chief of Defence Staff. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi trusted this man, General Bipin Rawat, who has been instrumental in various other policy level initiatives that the government has taken. So that shows that what India has lost today. If 130 crore Indians are mourning the death of General Bipin Rawat because they know this fact that what India has lost today. It is indeed an irreparable loss, not only for a country like India, but for vision of India, for that dream that India was looking for to become an Atmanirbhar. If you look at it this way, Samriddhi, I had a conversation with some of my friends who are serving right now, at various commands and of course at various region as of now. They told me that General Bipin Rawat was the most amicable and approachable person in the cadre. And if you look at it this way as well, that General Bipin Rawat was always open for any kind of conversation, even, not following the protocol in the army. It was not that General Bipin Rawat focused on the fact that there has to be protocol. He used to directly interact with the sepoy level, at the ground level, at the JCO level, or primarily he was interacting at the ground level officer who was deployed on the borders primarily. So this showcased that how amicable, how approachable General Bipin Rawat was. Today, if the entire defense fraternity is mourning, if 130 crore Indians are mourning, if the entire nation is mourning, it is because of the fact that the dream that India was seeing, the kind of vision that India was looking forward to achieve, that seems to face hurdle because now General Bipin Rawat is no more with us. The kind of responsibility that General Bipin Rawat was carrying on his shoulders, that showed that, where India was looking forward to go as far as defense sector is concerned. We know this fact that most decorated, or one of the most decorated defense personnel that India had. When we talk about his service, General Bipin Rawat has been decorated with Param Vishisht Seva Medal, Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, Uttam Yuddh Seva Medal, Vishisht Seva Medal, Yuddh Seva Medal, and of course the Sena Medal as well. He had a wide range of experience, of experience in operations across a wide spectrum of conflict and a terrain profile. So this shows the kind of experience that he was carrying with himself, serving right in the ground zero level to, holding this post of the Chief of Defense Staff. When India decided to integrate or to have an integrated post, or to have a post which ensures that the integration of the demands can be done of the defense of our country. When India had this vision to become Atmanirbhar, when India had this dream of becoming self-reliant, when India had this vision of making the defense sector of our country the robust sector whereby more and more investments can be attracted, whereby the public players or the public enterprises can collaborate with the foreign investors, whereby defense corridors were in making, one in Tamil Nadu, another of course in Uttar Pradesh. So this of course sends a message that what kind of personality India has lost today. And that's why we see, when we look at Twitter today, General Bipin Rawat is the top trend. It's been more than, you can say it's more than 24 hours when we started hearing about this unfortunate event, and after that we also got this unfortunate news of the demise of General Bipin Rawat and other defense personnel who were on board with him in that unfortunate flight. After that, look at it. For last 36 hours, you can say that General Bipin Rawat has been trending on Twitter. People are writing their emotions, sharing the pictures with General Bipin Rawat. We have journalists today who are sharing their moments, who are sharing their pictures on Twitter. There are common people as well, who got the opportunity to get clicked with General Bipin Rawat at some of the events, or whereby General Bipin Rawat was supposed to speak as a speaker. They got an opportunity to get clicked with themselves. They are sharing their pictures. So today Twitter is flooded. The social media is flooded with the pictures of General Bipin Rawat, people sharing their emotions, people primarily sharing the kind of, what they've witnessed via General Bipin Rawat, because the Indians, the 130 crore Indians, had this dream that India will become self-reliant, Atmanirbhar, under the leadership of General Bipin Rawat, whereby this vision was seen by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So this sends a message that what India has lost today. A short while ago, Samriddhi, we know this fact that National Security Advisor Ajit Doval has reached the Palam airport. Now we have also the Raksha Mantri, the Defense Minister himself, reaching the Palam airport, and it is very much likely that Prime Minister Narendra Modi also reaches the Palam airport for participating in this ceremony. Of course, we know this fact that the last rites of General Bipin Rawat will be done tomorrow. But yes, this Shraddhanjali ceremony, it means a lot. Mujhe tod lena vanmali, us path par tum dena phaik, matru-bhumi par sheesh chadhane, jis path jaye veer anek. So immense, we can say this fact that the brave heart that India has lost today, these brave hearts, these positions, these defense personnel, their loss primarily is irreparable for a country like India, for a developing country like India, which is still dreaming to become self-reliant, which is still looking for reforms. And yes, General Bipin Rawat, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, it was, being thought that General Bipin Rawat will carry this entire mission. But yes, the destiny had some other plans, and these emotional moments, General Bipin Rawat, no more with us. And unfortunately, he's saying a final goodbye to all of us. But yes, the condolences from all across the world, the top leadership, the army chief or the army commanders or the army generals of our neighboring countries that include Sri Lanka, Nepal, and of course the SAARC, prominently the BIMSTEC country members, they are sharing or they are sending the condolences on the demise of General Bipin Rawat. And we also know this fact that globally, primarily, you can say that globally, the condolences message from the top leadership, India is getting the condolences on the demise of General Bipin Rawat. So yes, it means a lot. It means India today has lost the gem, and today the Twitter is being flooded with the pictures, with the posts, with the speeches primarily that he has given in past on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook, on all the social media platform and social media website. You can see that General Bipin Rawat, his pictures, people are sharing moments, people are sharing their emotions on the social media websites. And these visuals that we are witnessing right now, a short while ago, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, has been instrumental in formulating the strategies, like surgical strike, whereby General Bipin Rawat was also there as far as formulating the policy, part of the team, as far as formulating the policy, just like surgical strike, and on various arenas and on various domains. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval and of course late General Bipin Rawat have shared their experiences to bringing policy level change in our defense sector primarily. So this means a lot, and even Rajnath Singh, the defense minister, has also reached the Palam Technical Airport, and we are expecting it is very much likely that even Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives at Palam Technical Airport for this Shraddhanjali ceremony of General Bipin Rawat and other defense personnel who we have lost in the unfortunate event that took place yesterday.
That's right. And as our audiences can now see the visuals, the Shraddhanjali ceremony will begin shortly. The Defence Minister Rajnath Singh is already at the Palam airport, and now we have the Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, who has arrived at the Palam airport to pay his tributes to the Chief of Defence Staff, late General Bipin Rawat, and the 12 others who have lost their lives. The Prime Minister has now arrived, and the mortal remains of the 13 people who have died in the unfortunate chopper crash yesterday in Tamil Nadu, killing the Chief of Defence Staff, India's, in fact, first Chief of Defence Staff, late General Bipin Rawat. The Prime Minister has now arrived at Palam Airport and will now pay his tributes. The Shraddhanjali ceremony has now begun for the 13 people who have died in this unfortunate chopper crash that took place yesterday. The Prime Minister will be laying a floral wreath and pay his tributes to CDS General Bipin Rawat. The Prime Minister now talking to the families. He just paid his tributes to CDS General Bipin Rawat and 12 others who have died in the unfortunate chopper crash in Tamil Nadu yesterday. The Prime Minister now talking to the families. Armed Forces personnel at the venue at the Palam Airport to pay their tributes. The Prime Minister has paid his tributes in the Shraddhanjali ceremony, laying a floral wreath and paying his tributes to CDS General Bipin Rawat and the 12 others who lost their lives in the unfortunate chopper crash that took place in Tamil Nadu yesterday. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh now paying tributes to CDS General Bipin Rawat, laying a floral wreath at his coffin. The Defence Minister paying his tributes in front of late Mrs. Madhulika Rawat, wife of CDS General Bipin Rawat. And he's now paying his tributes to the 12 others who've lost their lives. The Shraddhanjali ceremony at the Palam Airport, where the mortal remains of the 13 people who lost their lives yesterday. The National Security Advisor Ajit Doval is also at the venue to pay his tributes. He earlier met the families and spoke to them. The National Security Advisor Ajit Doval now paying his tributes to the fallen heroes, and the Defence Minister now leaving the venue. The Defence Secretary and further on the Chief of Air Staff, the Chief of the Navy Staff and the Chief of the Army Staff now paying their tributes to CDS General Bipin Rawat. The National Security Advisor Ajit Doval and Defence Minister Rajnath Singh just paid their tributes. Earlier, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was at the Palam airport to pay his tributes. He also spoke to the families and offered his condolences. The Chief of the Army Staff paying his tributes. The Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat, along with 12 others, died in an unfortunate chopper crash yesterday in Tamil Nadu. The mortal remains have arrived in Delhi and have been placed at a hangar at the Palam airport. We have Abhishek Jha with us once again on the phone line.
Yes, Samriti.
Right, Abhishek, the Shraddhanjali ceremony is currently on. What is the schedule for tomorrow? We are told civilians can pay tribute to CDS General Bipin Rawat from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at his Kamraj Marg residence.
Yes, Samriti. We have seen in Wellington ground also where army officials and senior officials did pay their last tributes to the departed General Rawat. There was huge crowd outside the Wellington ground which wanted to see maybe last time the general, but now we can also expect that tomorrow that this window has been kept for the last ride. Before that, people will have a chance where they can visit and pay their last tributes to General Rawat. Also, after that, there will be a last ride of General Rawat with full military honor that Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has also announced in the Parliament. And with after today's Shraddhanjali gets ended, his body will be taken to his home, which is 3 Kamraj Marg. And in the morning hours, it will be open for people who can come and pay their last tributes to the general.